Hello, welcome to another weekly update. The weekly update after Microsoft Ignite 2020. And wow, what a crazy, fantastic event it was for a non-in-person event. It was the first, I think, probably in history, the first all-digital Microsoft Ignite. Well, almost certainly, because Ignite as a thing by that name has not been around all that long. Yeah. I think it was the best it could have been as a not in-person event, and I think it was handled really well. There was so much content. That was the thing that the biggest kind of worry, if you like, for me, was that the content wouldn't be quite so perfect. There wouldn't be quite so much content, or the quality of the content would drop. And actually, that doesn't seem to have been the case at all. The content. There was loads of content. There was too much content, maybe. I don't mean that. There's never too much content, but I'm still wading through it. I'm still trying to figure out what's going on, and just there's loads and loads of stuff to process. But the things I want to concentrate on this week in this video are really kind of the blog posts that I've done this week throughout Ignite, because for me they're the sort of the most important parts of Ignite, the most interesting, exciting parts. That doesn't mean to say that I'm going to come off this and then go and find some other blog post or some other session that I wasn't previously aware of and think, wow, actually that's even more important. But as of right now, these are the things that I think are super, super interesting and kind of important. I'm going to start with what is for me the standout, most interesting part of Ignite, I think. The Azure Communication Services announcement. So this was huge. So this came from the Azure team, not the Microsoft Teams team, so slightly different product group. So the Microsoft Teams team, as you might expect, sort of funneled through Microsoft through Office 365 and the Microsoft 365 kind of space and up that way. This comes from the Azure sort of side of the fence, but it is communications and it is communication services. So what is Azure Communication Services? Well, it's a new way of accessing voice, video, and screen sharing modalities. It gives developers API plugin access to the same underlying platform that runs Microsoft Teams. So that's a lot to take in. There's a diagram down here which might help. So here we go. So you can think of Azure Communication Services as being the kind of bedrock, the underlying stack on which Microsoft Teams is built. So that's interesting. Also Dynamics 365 Customer Service, which I don't know that much about. But then your application can sit here as well in the custom application box via this new API that supports WebRTC, it supports SMS, it supports phone. It's really interesting. So it allows you to create a instance in your Azure tenant and then get a communication key, like an access connection key. And then you can take their libraries for WebRTC and drop it into your own web page, do peer-to-peer or group calling. And it's all on the Microsoft stack. It's all using the same underlying technology. So it will scale really well. It's secure, it's compliant, it's safe. Really, really exciting. Yeah, so I'm definitely going to be doing more in this area. I'm already doing more. I just haven't done enough to talk about it yet. I'm playing with some things, kind of doing some actual coding, which has been a little while since I've done some real, actual, proper breaking new ground coding. So that's exciting. And so you'll hear about that here, obviously, when that's ready. So that's happening. You should definitely go check this out. There's a really good session all about this. You can go and find it in the Ignite session catalogue. The session to look for is called Innovate with Azure Communication Services. Go watch that. It's worth a watch. There's a great demo in it as well. Really, really exciting. Pricing, because that always comes up as a question. So pricing for the voice over IP part of things is $0.004. So what is that? A fourth of a cent per minute per participant that joins. So regardless of the modalities, so it could be audio, video, application sharing, a mixture of all three, doesn't matter, you get charged the same, but you're being charged per minute per participant. And then for your chat messaging, so the whole thing supports a whole chat messaging stack as well, so you can send and receive chat messages. That is $0.0008 for every chat message sent. No pricing on SMS and phone yet, but yeah, we'll just have to wait and see what that is. It's a really interesting place to go. It's an interesting compete against the likes of Twilio, who have a fairly decent developer stack for kind of sort of programmatically having phone numbers and then sending things to phone numbers and receiving things from phone numbers. It ties in very interestingly into the bot framework space. It ties in very interestingly to the Teams development space. It unlocks an awful lot of things that were not previously possible and that aren't possible today with the calling API for Microsoft Teams. There's a number of things you can't do and that it looks like you will be able to do with this, so that's exciting. So yeah, all in all, I think this is really, really exciting. And for me, this is kind of the standout, the most exciting thing that I've picked up on in Microsoft Ignite this year. So yeah, definitely worth a look. Okay, next thing to talk about. This was known about, but we didn't really have any details. So I've talked before about this, so I won't spend loads and loads of time on this, but being able to embed your applications inside the Teams meeting experience. Really common ask. They talked about it at Inspire in July, but we haven't really seen any kind of like how you actually do it until now, really. And so just before Ignite went live, there were some pages that showed up on Microsoft Docs, and then there was a session at Ignite to kind of go through it as well in a little bit of detail. So yeah, not too much to say, I guess. Like it's great that you can do this. It'll be interesting to see how people do it. If you know how to write tabs, web page tabs, then you'll kind of know how to do this. It's a very similar experience. You can also interact with the chat that happens before and after a meeting, so you can have an application send messages to that chat conversation as well. You can also do like a dialogue in a meeting, so that's quite interesting because it kind of pops up on top of the meeting that's happening as a kind of fairly almost like a modal dialogue box. So it's a really good way of capturing attention, so maybe for asking questions or polling or something like that. It's a nice experience. Yeah, so if that sounds interesting, there's a whole session you can watch at Ignite about that. And yeah, I've done a blog post about it as well with some kind of how-tos and some code samples and stuff as well. So that's all good. So just water today. This next one is interesting. So this kind of falls under the into the category of announcements that weren't announcements. So things that, and these are the best kind of announcements where there's not an out and out announcement, but you notice something in a session and you think that's interesting, and you look into it and it turns out it's a thing. I was sitting in a session that was not a developer session; it was a IT pro session, talking all about managing teams for admins and the Teams Admin Center. And so in passing, whilst talking about some other features, Jamie Stark, who was giving the talk at the time, he was one of the two co-hosts, threw in that IT admins will soon be able to purchase licenses for applications, which is super interesting because being able to monetize applications in Teams is not something you can do today. But look at these screenshots, because this is the Teams Admin Center and these are applications, and there's a purchase now link under the licenses column here, and you can add this to your application, and you can have a license model for your application. You can have different tiers of licenses as well. You can have different plans. They can have different amount of money. You can have a yearly price, a monthly price. You can transact through AppSource. AppSource is where you can place the order, pay, put your credit card details in. I don't have any information about how to set any of this up. I don't have any information about whether Microsoft will take any charge for doing this. I have no information about it at all, other than this session that Jamie gave. So I think it's really interesting. I'm trying to find out more. Obviously of huge interest to developers who want to monetize their applications. I think it's a really good thing for the Teams App Store, because I think it will ensure that there is a steady stream of new Teams applications and the quality bar for those applications is high. I think monetization helps that process. I think it's good for users, because I think you'll see a more varied, more applications come to the Teams App Store as well. So yeah, very interesting. It's kind of interesting. I went to double check the kind of terms and conditions, if you like, for listing in the marketplace. And right now it doesn't seem like you can do this. So that's kind of interesting. I guess that will change. So yeah, that's really interesting. I'm trying to find out more information about that, but as it is at the moment, yeah, that's in the Teams Admin Center, if not actually kind of necessarily rolled out everywhere as a thing. So I guess it maybe is coming soon. So yeah, that's super exciting. Other things, lots and lots of changes and enhancements for Conversational AI. So specifically, Bot Framework Composer is got lots of new features. It's kind of too many to just sort of list out, but if you use Bot Framework and Bot Framework Composer, go check out there's a specific session which is OD 212, Conversational AI powered customer and employee virtual assistants. It's worth checking out. Darren Jefford gave the session, and he's obviously super knowledgeable. He's the principal group PM there. So he went through all the kind of things that have changed, gave some great demos as well around the Bot Framework Composer and about virtual agents. And there's a new template as well that you can use in Bot Framework Composer for VA Core. There's lots and lots of things. So there's also some good integration with Power Virtual Agents as well. So if that sounds interesting, go check that out. Yeah, loads to look at there if you're into conversational AI. Also, this is just like announcement after announcement. Project Oakdale. So if you remember that, it was the thing that was briefly called Dataflex before the trademark problems. It's back to being called Project Oakdale, and some more information through a session. I was kind of looking for this, and so I'm glad it was what I thought it was going to be. There was a session on it, which I thought was probably going to be it. It was called Build Custom Apps to Drive Productivity in the Remote Work World with Powerapps and Teams, which doesn't say anything about Project Oakdale, but I kind of knew the people giving the talk and figured out that they probably would be talking about Project Oakdale. And indeed they did. And not only that, they gave a walkthrough of using it, which I'd not seen before. So that was really, really good to see. So if you want to see a walkthrough of what Project Oakdale is going to look like when it comes, go and watch that session. Or if you just want to see the screenshots, I took all the screenshots and put them in a blog post. Yeah, it's really interesting. So just as a reminder, Project Oakdale is going to let you create kind of relational tables. They live inside Microsoft Teams and you access them via Powerapps. So they will allow you to create Powerapps that are more useful and more powerful because they have access to a long-lived relational data store. There's no additional license for that either, so it's kind of a good economic way as well to store data. It's a safe way to store data because it's within Microsoft Teams, so it's governance friendly, it's compliance friendly, it's in region friendly, it's all those things that IT admins will like it. So yeah, definitely worth checking out. It very much depends on your application, on your requirements for your application, but I think there's going to be lots of places where an application like this completely makes sense versus spinning up a database. If you've got less than X hundred rows and it's not that complicated a data set, why would you create it all through a database? And there's no need, right? So interesting. So other things not to miss. Microsoft have launched another video hub. This one's just called the Video Hub. It is the Microsoft Tech Community Video Hub, to give it its proper name. It's a collection of videos to help you learn about Microsoft products. It's going to it launched at the same time that Ignite did. And initially all the content is kind of aimed at Microsoft Ignite. It's all the deeper sessions. I think it feels like it's anything that didn't make it into a session or was too deep a dive to be kind of general consumption, made it over here at the Video Hub. There's lots and lots of content in there, which is great. I need to go through it in a bit more detail. I've had a bit of a look. It's one of those, I'd love to spend a week just watching all the videos in there. I'd learn so much. So that's good to see. So don't miss that. It's worth checking out. It's worth bookmarking as well, and checking back to see if there's any good content in there. Even if it's something completely not in your wheelhouse. I like doing this. Just picking a completely random technology and watching it for half an hour, because you'll learn so much. There's so much in the Microsoft stack at the moment. You can just go somewhere completely different. If what you do is Teams development, go and look at some IoT stuff, or some Q#, or robotics, or Xbox, or a million different things. So Connect, HoloLens, so many different things. So that was interesting. Other things. So I'm going to end with this one. It's just like announcement after announcement after announcement. I haven't even really covered the Teams non-developer stuff, just because there's so much Teams developer stuff to cover. There's lots and lots of blog posts about all the new Teams features, so you can get that from there. This last one though, I am going to call out because it's not a new technology feature, I suppose, coming to Teams, but I've heard it mentioned at the end of one of the keynote segments, and I thought it was really good. So you may know, or you may not know, I do a sort of semi-regular series of videos called Talking Stuff with Lindsay, where we just kind of chat through some of the kind of softer side, not the tech stuff, more of the kind of how hard it is to work during lockdown, how to cope with loads and loads of different different priorities, how to prioritize things, how just all those kind of softer skill stuff. So one of the things we spoke about when talking about how hard it is to work at home all the time is context switching between home and work, and the lack missing out on not having commuting time. So I was really interested to see that coming to Microsoft Teams soon is going to be this idea of a commuting time. So Teams is going to prompt you, it's going to know when you're supposed to finish for the day, and it's going to start prompting you to say, look, it's coming to the end of your day, it's 15 minutes to go, why not start wrapping up, rather than you've got that hard cut of working at 110%, 110 miles an hour up until 5 or 6 or whenever it is you stop, and then go immediately into home mode, walk down the stairs and go straight into home mode. Actually, if you can commute, and if you can do that reflection time, Microsoft Research have done some studies and found that you are more productive by up to 15%. That's why they're putting it into Teams, and Teams is going to prompt you this stuff. And let me share my screen so you can see. It's going to start asking you things like, let's close out the task, so you've got a clear head, a chance to journal your day, which is not actually something I do, but it's a good idea. And then this is interesting as well. They are integrating with Headspace to offer guided meditation sessions, and this is right within Teams. This little video I guess it's a video. We're going to have to wait for it to come out and see. Yeah, really nice. And then you've got this I'm home button. So super interesting. Lots also kind of alongside this, there's lots of metrics as well to help both you understand how to work more efficiently, more productively, and sort of happier, but also for your manager to get aggregate level information, and then also for leadership to get aggregate level information across the whole organization as well. So I think this is really good. I think it's important stuff, and what I'm finding is that so much of my day is inside Microsoft Teams at the moment, so it totally makes sense for some of this stuff to be here as well. Well, that was a bit of a whistle-stop tour. Didn't really get a chance to talk through any of the kind of the keynote stuff or the key segment stuff, but I mean, you can go and watch those. There was just, I said it before, I'll say it again, a surprising amount of content for what was, a 2-day event, a 48-hour event, kind of split over 2.5 days. I think the plan is to do one of these now, and then rather than a week-long Ignite, to do this now and then another one in the new year. But there was so much content. There was enough content, I think, for a regular week of Ignite. It feels like it. I'm sure, I don't know if that's true or not, but really felt like lots and lots of good content and high quality content as well. So congratulations to the Microsoft Ignite team. Good effort, and very much looking forward to the next one. Yes, it's obviously a real shame we couldn't all be there in person, but I think this was the next best thing. I really do. I think it was really, really good. All right, I think that's everything from me. I'm going to leave it there. Kind of a long one today, so apologies for that. But lots and lots of things to talk through. So, all right, have a great weekend, whatever's left of it, and a good week next week. And I will speak to you again